Content is not just something that we do or that happens on the side. We've gotten to a point now in this new creator economy where content, for the first time, literally sits or should sit at the core of any innovative business. And this is the new imperative. This is no longer optional for companies that want to compete in the new content-driven ecosystem that we are in now. If you've been following me for any amount of time, you know that I am big on understanding how to leverage content to grow a massive and loyal audience, to monetize that audience, to over-deliver in terms of the value you provide upfront within your free community, then ushering those people into gated and paid spaces, platforms, and products on the back end. Now, this model, which is still in, I don't want to say in its infancy, but it's definitely still evolving in terms of adoption within the market, and I'll say also is being pioneered by solopreneurs, small and medium-sized businesses really starting to adopt this model of giving free value, and not just once, but again, and again, consistently upfront through those free public domain platforms like social media, a blog, a podcast, for example, and doing that consistently to then amass the audience, train, educate, and garner trust among that audience before introducing them to your paid tiers within your business. This model was pioneered by one of my mentors and one of my first mentors in the marketing space, the Godfather of Content Marketing, Joe Pulizzi. He is the founder of Content Marketing Institute, and I am so excited and humbled to bring you it's a pseudo interview because I wanted to feature this conversation with Joe more like a mini masterclass than a back and forth conversation, just because I know how rich and how potent his insights and his story around Content Marketing Institute is. And I wanted to make sure that this information was presented in the best way possible. So what I did in lieu of sitting down and doing a traditional Q&A is I submitted very pointed questions to Joe and had him respond to those questions in video format. He then returned those to me, and I've put that together for you guys in this video. Here is Joe Pulizzi sharing how he scaled Content Marketing Institute to exit using a content first strategy. I hope that you find value in today's video.
When we first started CMI, I had no idea what the revenue streams would be. At least I had an idea in my mind. The initial product was a matchmaking service for content marketing, like the eHarmony for content marketing. And we were going to match up brands who needed content marketing services with agencies. And that didn't work out so well. And before I gave up on the whole Content Marketing Institute idea, I actually, luckily, started to go through a lot of our blog feedback, emails that I received, and they were asking questions like, Joe, do you and your team do consulting? Joe, my team needs content marketing training. Joe, are there any events out there for content marketing and enterprises? And I just couldn't, I didn't listen in the first place. I wish I did, but it took me a while. So we started initially the concept for what became Content Marketing Institute in 2007. And this was in late 2009. Made the pivot to what became Content Marketing Institute in May of 2010. And then I wrote down, I remember in 2009, I scratched down on a napkin, a cocktail napkin, actually. And I put in the middle, that we were going to be the leading informational expert for content marketing. And how are we going to do that? We were going to do it through a print magazine by being the leading informational resource online for content marketing. That's contentmarketinginstitute.com. And then that we were going to launch an event, Content Marketing World. That happened actually a year and a half, 2 years later, and that became the main driver for revenue. So my learning in this whole thing is put out great content on a consistent basis, but then you have to set up your listening posts, listen to what your audience needs, and they really wanted an in-person event, and that became the driver and ultimately became a $6.5 million event, and was one of the reasons why we were able to sell for what we did in 2016. So the main platform for Content Marketing Institute was the blog. And we would end up sending a blog post out there. Initially, it was 5 days a week. Then it went to 7 days a week. And we adjusted as we went. And that started to get our initial subscribers in through email. So really important that we started with our own property with rented land, and that without using rented land social media. And we were moving forward there. And then as we started to launch different things like the podcast, like Chief Content Officer magazine, like the event, we started to ask the question, who are our best customers? Who spends the most? And it takes a while to do this because you have to have some kind of a CRM database marketing automation system where you can track these things. And as we started to bring it together, we realized that our magic number was 3. And it didn't matter which 3 things that people subscribe to. So it could be the blog, email newsletter, and they go to the event. Or it could be the event, the Twitter chat, and our webinar series. It could be the magazine, email, and our workshops that we do. Whatever it was, our magic number was 3, and we knew if we had our audience subscribe to at least 3 things, those were the people that spent the most amount of money with us. Makes sense, right? But a lot of people don't look at that data. So what we realized was, hey, let's not put a lot of pressure for sales on just getting an email subscriber. Let's get an email subscriber and let's get them subscribed into 1 to 2 other things. So that's what we really worked hard to do, and that worked really well for us. So I'm a big fan of not the hard sell at first. Once you get a subscriber, get the subscriber, deliver ongoing value through whatever your platform is, and then start adding opportunities to subscribe to other things, and then you'll see an amazing customer, your most profitable customer. We made some decisions in 2013, 2014 to acquire some properties. And the reason is when I was looking at, and again, if you're going to sell your company, it depends on what you want to sell it for and what you're willing to take. And when we did the math on the whole thing, we knew that at the end of the day, we wanted forever money, and that forever money was at least $10 million USD. And after, we had to get to about 15 million after taxes would get us to 10 million, all that stuff. So we weren't trending in the right direction or as quickly as I wanted to, because we wanted to start the selling process in 2015. So we ended up looking at a couple things. We knew a bolt-on awards program was an opportunity for us, and we believed we needed a West Coast technology event to add to Content Marketing World, which was our large enterprise event. And so we went out looking for those opportunities. I made my short list of the awards programs and the events that we could go out and purchase, built those relationships, took 9, 12, some cases 18 months. We made 3 overall purchases to add to that valuation, and without those add-on products that we were able to buy, we would have never got the valuation we ultimately did in 2016. So as an owner, as a content business, you just look over time and see, okay, where are we at? What do we need to do? And if you want to sell, figure out how much you want to sell it for, write it down, and you can get an idea of valuation. If you believe that you're going to, if it's an event companies I knew at the time were about 8 times earnings, 8 to 10 times earnings. So we could take our earnings and say, okay, we're going to sell it for 8 times, and we can see where we're going to be at. Are we at that $15 million number or not? So you can look and see what type of a business are you? Are you a consulting business? Are you a course-driven business? What kind of content business are you? And you can figure out what the valuations are in your industry, and then you can make appropriate steps ongoing. It took probably a good 12 to 16 months before I figured out that email was going to be the thing, that we had to really focus on email subscribers. And we lost a lot in the meantime. And I don't think we worked as hard as we could have until about 2011, 2012. We put the systems in place to make sure the offers were right for email, and we were focusing on search engine optimization, going to landing pages, of signing up for something, some kind of ebook, research report, whatever, and get a person signed up for email. So that was critical. And even today, if you look at the most valuable companies that are being sold, they're email-driven companies, valuation like a Morning Brew or The Hustle being bought by HubSpot, whatever the case is. So with content marketing, I believe not every company needs a content marketing strategy, but I believe innovative companies absolutely do need one. And the reason is that if everyone shuts off your access to audiences, if social media shuts off their access and media companies, you can't market and you can't use Google anymore for whatever reason, what are you left with? So really the most important thing you can do is build an audience so you have direct communication chain with your prospects and customers. So that's absolutely what I would look to do. Content marketing makes everything better when it comes to traditional marketing. So if you are going out and you're bringing in leads and prospects through traditional marketing, affiliate programs, and whatever else you're doing, well, if you have an owned channel that you can set them to, an email newsletter, a great podcast, a webinar series, and you can build trust with them over time and not have the hard sell, that's the absolute best way to do it. That's the problem with a lot of traditional marketing, is you have to sell right away, and you have to drive value very quickly, or they may not ever come back to you again. With content marketing, you can take your time. you can deliver valuable, relevant information on an ongoing basis and really start to build a trusting relationship. And your traditional marketing that you're doing and your advertising can all lead into that content brand that you built. So if you look at some of the amazing companies out there, Aero Electronics, Fortune 120 company, $34 billion company, they have 30 plus different brands that they are the leading media company in the B2B electronic space. Isn't it amazing that they have that access and they can sell whenever they want to and they don't have to force that sell at any time? How did Red Bull become Red Bull? Through Red Bull Media House, that own platform. How did Procter & Gamble become Procter & Gamble? Because in the 30s and 40s, they started doing soap operas, and they're still around today doing amazing things like Homemade Simple, and they're building new products around content brands. So that's what I would say. Content marketing is important. Is it any more important than anything else? I'm biased. I think it is, because of the fact that it gives you more control over the distribution of your business. And if somebody takes away distribution, I mean, you know this, if you build a business and you don't own distribution, if Amazon owns it, if eBay owns distribution, if Google owns distribution, if Apple owns distribution, you're locked. You don't have any control. They make the decisions. So that's the great thing about content marketing, is you can build an audience and build an amazing database of your customers and prospects, and that should come first. I'm a historian when it comes to content marketing. John Deere launches the Furrow magazine in 1895. It's still around today. Why did they launch the Furrow magazine? Because they were trying to get John Deere buyers to buy John Deere every time that they needed a new piece of equipment. And so they sent them the Furrow magazine to help them become better farmers. Amazing, right? So that's what we're trying to do as well with our communications. I mean, I drive a Mazda. I love Mazdas. And they send me every couple months Mazda magazine. I think it could be a little bit better, but I love it. You know, Lego magazine. My kids loved Lego magazine, and they bought so many more Legos because they were focused on keeping their customers. It's so much better to keep a customer, so much less costly to keep a customer than have to go out and continually get a new one. If you're asking me the opportunities for 2022, I'd probably say sponsorship, because of the fact that a lot of large companies that traditionally have not spent money with smaller content creators are now doing that. They've now made the budget. You've seen podcasting, advertising explode. So I think that's a huge opportunity for 2022 and beyond to put together sponsorship packages and sell limited inventory that you might have to create exclusive experiences along with your sponsors. I absolutely think there's an opportunity in Web3 and tokenization. I mean, today we're in the 95 and 96 in internet years, but if you're asking me, can a content creator tokenize their community in some way through social tokens or non-fungible tokens, NFTs, and monetize that? Absolutely. I've seen a lot of my friends have done really well with their NFT launches. For us at the Tilt now, we have Creator Economy Expo. That's our annual event every May, and we have an NFT called our Never Ending Ticket, CEX Never Ending Ticket, so that you can give out VIP access and lifetime ticket access to people that want to spend a little bit more. So I would say if you are somebody that has a little bit different kind of an inventory, you can create a scarce or a limited experience by tokenizing it, then absolutely you should look at that. And it's a great time to test and see what works and focus on your super fans, and your super fans will give you great feedback ongoing. So yes, absolutely into the future, Web3 should be looked at as a priority, I think, into 24, 25, who knows how quickly this is going to go, but it's definitely not going away.